Don't even know how to start this video, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie, I have tried to film this video a few times. Like I said, that's why I've come up here to try and make it a bit easier. Because every time I sit down and go to film it, it just feels as if I'm just like whinging to the camera. I don't know, I've never really been this open, but I realised to keep the integrity of this channel that I kind of need to be completely transparent with you all and just don't keep you in the dark with literally anything. But yeah, so forgive me, like I still feel like I'm whinging now about it. But I also feel it's important to put it out there how I actually am. Maybe some others can relate to it and just see where we go from here, really. So to give you the full story on this, I really just need to take you back to the start and go on a little bit of a journey with you. For those of you that have been watching my journey on social media from the start or just for a while, you know that I originally did start this journey when I was at college. I was doing a scholarship with Brighton and Hove Albion that enabled me to study and play football on a full-time schedule. Now I know this isn't just a me thing, but the whole of the world did get messed up in 2020 by we all know what. But all the trouble really personally started when I came back from COVID. The team had to move facilities. We couldn't use all the pro standard like facilities that we had been before at the training ground because it was only the first team that were allowed there. Obviously only a certain amount were allowed there because of said virus. And I wasn't enjoying my football anymore. I hated going. Every morning I hated getting up for it. A big thing for that was I didn't like the group I was around. I wasn't around a positive influenced group that enabled me to succeed. I'm not obviously putting solely blame on them, but I just overall was not enjoying the football. For me, and the main big thing that got me a first few views, got me a first few followers on my TikTok, on my YouTube, on all my social media, was when I got injured just as I left. You all know I've had a struggle with a few knee injuries in the past, as all footballers do really, but this one came at a really unfortunate time where I was just coming to the end of my scholarship. I needed to be fit and ready to go to trial for new teams to get into a new spot. I think it was literally like under 60 days from leaving my scholarship that I got injured, or at least under 70, I can say that for a fact. With a knee injury that's quite serious, puts me on the sideline. I'm not able to train, I'm not able to find a new team. You're left out on your own just as you have been through COVID, and the joy just was completely vanishing really. With getting injured, I was just thinking, is this all for me? Do I carry on? Do I come back from this and get back into football? And it was a big turning point in my life where I needed to make the big decision, do I carry on? Because ultimately it was my final year in full-time study and full-time football if I didn't make it pro. And now it was solely on my back, all the responsibility, all accountability, all motivation to work hard. I needed to make the decision now if I wanted to carry on. Ultimately, of course, I decided I would carry on, as you'll know from the channel, getting up to this point. However, leaving the scholarship, when you're not signed, you have to look for a physio on your own, you have to do all the rehab on your own, you're not in a team environment being pushed on by your mates to get back to it. You're just left on your own. And as I said, I didn't particularly get on with anyone on my scholarship. Especially when I started doing social media is when everyone kind of really turned their backs on me, which I didn't mind because I knew a lot of us weren't going to be friends moving forward. I mean, they just showed their true side, their true colours, but I was just sort of on my own. So then you'll remember after the little injury series was when I got back to it and I went on trial with an Isthmian Premier Division club called Bognor Regis. Now this was where, in my mind, it was make or break. It was do or die. I was either going to make it on the team or I was going to stop playing football. I dedicated so much time, so many years to training and working hard and trying to inspire people online, but I just wasn't getting a result from it, a break from it. You know, at first it seemed like a little dream come true, to be honest, because I'd been out for months, didn't have a team, and now I literally had the biggest opportunity I've ever had to play at the highest level I ever have. And it would have been amazing. I went on trial there through January to March, but there was just so many problems, and unfortunately it didn't work out. I wouldn't put any blame on the club at all. I wouldn't put any blame on myself at all particularly. I have done during the past year, but learning and thinking about the situation over and over, you realise really there was nothing that I could do about it. So to give you a breakdown of what happened with Bognor, as I said, I started there on trial in January, and that was actually through a cold call. I was just putting in clubs, just literally everywhere, and just writing down details, seeing who I could get a hold of, making phone calls, sending emails, and Bognor were the ones that got back. I'll forever be grateful for that opportunity, for that time there, because I've never been welcomed into a squad more than I was with Bognor. And I hope I will be, but it did seem amazing. And so the first agreement for me and Bognor, the coaches knew that I hadn't been with a club from July all the way to December/January when I was starting the trial, and they knew they were taking a risk on me, but it did work out very well that they needed players, and specifically centre midfielders, which of course is where I play. So that was where I came in, and things just seemed like they were going to fall into place perfectly for both parties. But then of course it's life, something always goes wrong. So something I haven't spoken about too much, I spoke a little bit about in my failed trial video, but I haven't touched on it anywhere else, was the whole experience at Bognor. I had to travel 6 hours total for a single session. So 6 hours travel time for just a 1 hour training session. That was it. It was worth it to me, and the initial agreement was that I'd go on trial there for maybe 6 weeks, 8 weeks, just enough time for them to decide if they liked me, if I liked them, if we were like a good fit and I was going to come in and play at the club. And if so, I was going to come back in pre-season in the summertime to sign on and play full-time for Bognor. But I was, you know, I'd been without a club for so long. I was just trying to show how dedicated I was and not pass up any opportunity. So I made it clear that I was happy to do that if that's what they wanted, but I was also more than happy to commit myself and travel over all the way through January to pre-season, which was 6 odd months of travel, which you have to counter in that the travel time, I'm not on a contract, so I'm not getting paid. I have to pay my own travel, like pay for the train fare. And there was just so much into it. Like if I needed accommodation for the training sessions, if I was staying, if I needed food, nothing was getting paid for by the club, any coaches, everything was on my own back, which at first I was happy with, but of course it always starts to mount up and problems do appear over a period of time, no matter how long that is. And the first problem came in that with the 6 hours travel time, there's always going to be a problem with public transport in that time. I had to get the train, and it was just more unfortunate really. It was 3 or 4 weeks in a row that trains would be cancelled. So the 6 hours obviously split up into there and back. So it was 3 hours to get there and 3 hours to get back. I'd get halfway there, I'd get maybe, some days it was 20 minutes, some days it was as much as an hour and a half on the train. And then I'd go to change and the train would be cancelled, that would be that. I'd have wasted my money on the train fare, I can't get a refund because I've used the ticket. I've let the coach down, I was a no-show. There was just a lot going on in my head. And on top of already not enjoying football and this being a make or break for me, it just wasn't looking good. So I can't really give you all exact times. I know some people know I'm from Brighton and all around, but I also can't give you my exact location. So it was a roughly 2 hour, 30-minute train journey to get there. And then it was a 30-minute walk from the station to the stadium to train. Some of you might be thinking, of course, you know, I'm around Brighton, Bognor isn't that far away. But the thing that a lot of people didn't know online was we didn't train in Bognor. We trained as far as Portsmouth, which obviously added on a lot longer time for my travel. Of course, with me being out for the past 7 months prior to this opportunity, I came in very rusty. You know, I don't think of myself as a nervous player, nervous person, but when this is your biggest opportunity you've had, you're getting older and getting harder for you to sign a pro. like I said, you've just come back from 7 months, it's going to be difficult. Yeah, obviously I was rusty going into it, and just generally of all the other problems when I was making it, it just wasn't looking good that I was a hit or miss if I was going to turn up, you know. I feel like they were counting on me to be the replacement for midfield, that player they were looking for, but because I was showing up 1 week and not the next for 2 weeks, it didn't look good. On top of that, me being rusty, and like I said, make or break, my whole heart, my whole head just wasn't in it when I was there. I was making a lot of mistakes. I can say I was never terrible enough to get dropped fully from the squad and have the trials ended. And I know there's always problems like this in football. I know this just is how it is. Like, most people don't realise the reality of being a footballer unless you're at the top 1% getting paid millions of pounds a season. It really is a struggle when you're around the core of the leagues, of the footballers. So I know this isn't just a little poor me party. This is more highlighting problems that can come of chasing to be a professional footballer, so that people out there that follow me realise the reality of it, and that is not all, you know, happiness, going down to the training session and having fun, being with the best teams, playing with the best players, having fun, making friends. It's not all perfect. But yeah, ultimately, I made the tough decision on myself, which was genuinely very hard to do. Because I didn't get dropped, it was all on my shoulders to decide if I was going to kind of own up and say, look, I'm not enjoying my football anyway, and I can barely even make it to the sessions. So ultimately what I said to them was, I'm going to stop coming because I don't want to look like a no-show. I don't want to look like I'm not really up for it. I don't want to look like I'm all talk. So I'm going to stop coming to your sessions. I'm going to stop coming to the club. And if everything gets sorted more towards the summertime, I'll return and come back in pre-season and see how I get on then. Unfortunately, just after this, it really didn't work out well because the coaches, the manager, left the club at Bognor. So I didn't have any more contacts there to get back for pre-season. Yeah, obviously not enjoying my football. I was thinking about quitting anyway, so obviously I need to get into work. I need to do something. I can't just sit around at home, you know. Unfortunately, my YouTube, my social media isn't quite big enough yet to do that full time. I got a little part-time job, so I could still play football, still see if I wanted to go anywhere with that. And I actually ended up really liking the job. I can say I met some of the best people I probably ever will, some friends for life from that place. And it was just overall a really good experience. It was something I liked doing, a little outdoor activity centre based in Brighton. It was just a lot of fun. After a little while there, I got offered an opportunity to get some full-time hours, which meant working almost every day in the week, and yeah, just working like a full-time job. Again, I really enjoyed it. Wanted to stay with my friends, and I just put football to the back of my mind, really. So while I was working here, everyone knew about my social media. I was getting recognised at the job, getting asked for photos by some subscribers. And I was pretending to everyone that I still really liked football. I was kind of being a different person than I actually was. Because in my mind, I didn't enjoy football at all. I didn't have any thought of wanting to ever go back to it. But that's when another opportunity came up. So like I said, Bognor for me was make or break. But sometimes in life, you get thrown a curveball, you get given another opportunity. Now I realised that I am getting older and my chance of signing the pro is getting smaller and smaller. And over the past few years doing social media, I've just put endless amounts of pressure on myself. It wasn't healthy at all, the mindset I had, the amount of pressure I was putting on myself. You know, some days I was waking up at 4 AM to train. You know, how silly does that sound? It's not needed at all. It was 4, 5, 6 AM wake ups when I was fully going for it, this is. And I just fully went for it, hammering myself I needed to do it. And now it had all crumbled away. It felt like it was all for nothing and I just wasn't in a good place. So why would I want to go back and play again, you know? But this new opportunity seemed very good. But in hindsight, I can say it clearly wasn't going to be any good. So I got an offer for a contact to go to a showcase game up in London with the chance of going to Portugal to play professional football. So I went to this showcase game thinking, I've barely kicked a ball since February, bearing in mind the current time is just post-summer, it's like September. So that's how many months without kicking a ball, you know what I mean? I haven't really trained. The last time I played a full 11-a-side match was 18 months ago or something like that. How ridiculous does this sound? And now I'm getting the opportunity to go play a showcase, to go pro. I was not prepared at all. I don't know what I was thinking. On top of that, not enjoying my football, and then risking myself flying out to Portugal to play pro and make it my life after just not enjoying it at all was such a big risk. I don't know, I clearly wasn't thinking straight. Anyway, I got up to London, the showcase. Of course, I was rusty again. But somehow I did manage to put in a somewhat decent performance, and I got selected. I got selected to go through to the next stage when we were going to fly over to Portugal around the end of the year, around the end of 2022, and play with some pro clubs and get signed by some pro clubs and become professional footballers out in Portugal. How amazing does that sound? But then, of course, showcases, things like this, there's sometimes something off about them. The showcase as a whole didn't seem very professional the way it was set up. Coaches there, although they were great guys, lovely people, they just weren't very experienced in the whole thing, and it wasn't great. So I personally don't know what fell through, so I can't answer that for you. If you're going to put it down in the comments, I would love to know myself, to be honest. But going to Portugal in December got rescheduled. It was going to be the summertime of 2023 that we head over to Portugal. But my contacts and the guys that were connecting us to Portugal decided they wanted a lump sum of money before we went to Portugal. Now, if you're older and been in football for a while, you'll know how stupid that sounds, how dangerous that is, and you'll know you're with the wrong agent if they're asking for money up front. For the young ones out there, you never ever give money before you sign a contract. An agent, a contact, anyone who's connected to your club, they should get a percentage of your wage after you sign the contract, not before, okay? They were asking for a fairly large monthly fee, which I'd pay until the summer, and then any additional costs to hire out like pitches and connect us to Portugal during that time if we wanted to train as a team and get ready, which ultimately if I'm paying to hire out a pitch and train with you all, I can see maybe fair enough, but it just didn't seem too legit, so of course that all fell through. Again, I can tell you I just don't know what I was thinking. You know, imagine after not enjoying football for the past 18 months, I fly myself out to Portugal, somehow get picked and become a professional footballer, but I'm still not enjoying football. Why would I do that to myself, you know? I don't know. But yeah, ultimately, I think I've just realised that from this whole story, from this past 2-3 years, I've been putting way too much pressure on myself. I've been putting way too much out there on what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it. And, you know, I'm 21 now. It's just getting harder and harder to dedicate a full-time schedule to this because, you know, I need money coming in, I need to have a life. I can't like not eat, you know, I need to provide for myself. So I've made the decision to not quit football fully. I've been taking a break for a little while just to get my head clear to make this video and decide what I'm going to do. But I've decided I'm not going to put pressure on myself at all. I'm going to enjoy the journey because before I was not enjoying the journey at all. I was not enjoying the grind of training and getting up at 4 AM. I was just doing it to do it. I thought that's the standard, that's what you have to do to make it. I'll be happy when I reach my end goal and get the contract, but ultimately that was never coming with the way I'm working. So this is not the end of the Road to Pro series completely, because I still wholeheartedly believe that if I put my mind to it and train smart and effectively, I can make it as a professional footballer. I wholeheartedly believe that. There's not a single doubt in my mind. Maybe I won't make it and be a world-class Premier League player, but there are so many countries, so many divisions and leagues out there where I could become a professional footballer. And if I put my mind to it, I know I'm good enough and I know I'm able to reach that. So we're not quitting football fully. Content's still going to be coming regularly, weekly, every other week on this channel, shorts, long videos, on my Instagram, on my TikTok, and we're going to go for it, but we're going to go for it properly, okay? We're going to do this all together. My community is behind me, my followers, my audience, my comment section. We're all doing this together. We all have the same goals in mind. We're going to work hard, but we're going to be sensible. We're not going to put stupid things in our heads and tell ourselves we have to be this and doing this. I know you have to do things you don't want to do, but you need to be healthy with it. You're still a human being at the end of the day, and making football your life altogether is very, very dangerous. I've had a lot of time out through injuries, like I've said in this video. And when you're on the sideline and injured and you realise your whole life is football and now that's completely taken away from you, you get put in a dark, dark place, I can tell you. It's not fun, and I really don't want any of my audience to be in the same place I was in. So we need to do this sensibly. We need to work out a plan and go through it from there. Now I'm just going to say it is getting a little bit later. The sun's setting, I'm getting absolutely freezing cold. So I'm going to have to move on. I might pick up the video from home or somewhere else, but we'll see. But yeah, I just want to end this video off saying I've realised I do love football. I've realised I do love training, playing football, playing for a team. You know, I've played at a club level since the age of 4. So I've been in this game for a while now, and I'm not throwing in the towel yet. I'm going to sign for a club in the near future, whether that's at the highest level, just to get me back into it. I know I need some working hours to get myself back in the game. You know, I've got limited time to become as good as I can. By the way, yeah, I have absolutely no idea how I'm getting back down this. It doesn't look as steep as it is, but bloody hell. But yeah, I've realised I do love football. I just didn't love the amount of pressure that I was putting on myself. Now, I love making content for all of you. I can really see myself going down the content journey and making this my full-time thing. And like I said, we're going to keep doing weekly videos. Now, whether I make football at a high competitive standard or I just start playing it for fun to really build on the love for the game again, I'm going to be doing it. I'm going to get back into it. You're going to have some match highlights coming soon. Just stay tuned for the journey. Oh my god, we just have to go on absolute goose hunt for this bloody microphone. I've got all the way to the bottom and it's all the way back at the top. Bloody hell. Been screaming like an absolute loony to try and pick up the mic to see how far away I am from it.